My official name is Colonel Roseanne M. Greco. I was born September 5th, 1948. I was in the United States Air Force. I was a full colonel. Well, Vietnam was winding down when I went in. We were fighting in Cambodia. At the time, I was in for the Bosnia conflict. Some of these were not declared wars. The Iraq War, the Afghanistan War, anything that happened since 1973 up until 2003. I joined the Air Force for education purposes. I was not able to afford to go to graduate school. I had completed college. I worked my way through college, but I couldn't afford graduate school, and I heard the military paid quite a bit, and they do, for education. So I joined because I wanted to get my master's degree and have Uncle Sam pay for it, which he did. They did. I got my master's in counseling and guidance, and I have all coursework finished for a PhD in international relations. Okay, so I served 29 years, 4 months, and 4 days. I served in 5 foreign countries. I served in Thailand, in Switzerland, in Austria, in Germany, and in England. And I served in 6 U.S. states. Let's see, Texas, Colorado, Nebraska, Maryland, Virginia, and Alabama. I have, for almost 30 years, I have lots of memories. It's hard to pick, hard to choose, but I'll pick 1 or 2. I worked for General Colin Powell when he was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, because I was on the Joint Chiefs of Staff at the time. That was a great privilege and an honor. Probably the high point in my career was when I was selected to be a U.S. delegate to the U.S.-Soviet nuclear arms control negotiations. It was called START, Strategic Arms Reduction Talks, in Geneva, Switzerland. That probably tops. Well, there were many, many other wonderful things, but working for General Powell and serving as arms control, nuclear arms control negotiator were definitely high points. Well, in the time I was in the military, the public's perception of the military changed 180 degrees. I came in at the end of the Vietnam era. And at those times, and shortly after those, the military was reviled. We were spit upon. I was stationed at the Pentagon at the time, and in some cases we were advised not to wear our uniforms in public because the public hated the military way before you were born. Which was absolutely, I think, horrible, and there were some military who had done horrendous things in Vietnam, but in those days, much of the public thought all military members were like that. You know, horrible people, you know, deserved to be spit on. Years later, it is just the opposite. Both are incorrect. Today, I almost think we deify the military. You know, we are, you know, revered almost as, you know, wonderful beings, saints. Neither of those portrayals are accurate. We are human beings. We are not saints. We are probably all sinners, I guess, to that degree. But I think public perception seems to be out of balance. The vast majority of military members are not in combat situations and are not in a daily life or death situation. Many are. It is nice to be thanked for military service, but I think we ought to thank our first responders as well, our firefighters, our police officers, our medical personnel, our doctors for that matter, who are risking their lives, sometimes almost daily. To put the military on a higher pedestal, I think, is dangerous and is also not accurate. Oh, I can show you my official, because I'm not in uniform. I haven't put my uniform on since I retired, but this is my official photo, so that's what I look like. I enjoy just about every moment of my military career. I went in for the education benefits. I stayed because I loved the location I was in, and in some cases I loved the job. I never intended to make it a career. But the military, without a doubt, was probably one of the best decisions I ever made, because it taught me way more than I ever thought I would get from the military, which is responsibility, hard work, dedication, sacrifice, taking responsibility for my actions and looking out for myself too, because you don't get promoted in the military unless you actually had to toot your own horn occasionally, which was, I grew up being taught never to do that, to be humble and never brag about yourself. But it taught me, I think, more than anything else, leadership, and what makes a good leader, and the qualities that that make up a good leader. And I think that's probably one of the greatest lessons I've learned in the military.